Hi everyone, so today we are learning about the water cycle in our theme, because obviously we've been learning about rivers, and so this ties into our rivers topic that we're looking at. So have you ever thought about why it actually rains? So think about what happens when you put some water in a bowl and put it in a warm place. You could try this at home. Don't put lots of water in, but if you've got a little bowl, you could fill it with some water or put some water in the bottom and leave it somewhere where it's warm and see what happens over the next couple of days. Or if you think about puddles that we have outside, why do the puddles disappear? Why are they not there all the time? So you'll probably find if you use the bowl that after 2 or 3 days, all the water has disappeared. Now that's due to something called evaporation. Now evaporation means that the water actually goes into the air. It evaporates, it turns into something called water vapor. So as it gets hot, the form changes and it changes into water vapor. This evaporation also happens outside when the sun warms the sea. So when it warms the sea, some of the seawater evaporates and turns into water vapor and goes up into the air. The water vapor goes up into the sky and it gets higher and higher, and as it gets higher it begins to cool because it's colder higher up. So it gets colder and the water vapor turns into droplets of water, and that's what actually forms the clouds. So this is called condensation. Now if you think about when you have a bath or a shower and the mirror in the bathroom gets all steamy, or when it's cold outside and you get into a car and the windows all steam up, that is condensation. The water vapor hits something cold and it starts to turn back into water. So the water droplets form clouds. Now these clouds blow over the land, and the land is higher than the sea, so therefore the clouds are higher as well. And as they go up into the sky, they get colder and colder, and the water droplets begin to join together. So those little tiny droplets join together, and as they get bigger, they get too heavy to stay in the cloud, and that's when they start to fall. So they fall to the ground, and that's what we call rain or precipitation. Now accumulation is when the rain falls to the ground, it gathers together, it accumulates, and it makes streams, and streams flow down the hills. So it starts up high in high ground, such as in the mountains or higher up, makes streams, and the streams start to flow down the hills and into rivers, and those eventually make their way back to the sea. And remember, we looked last week at some of the vocabulary for the rivers, and the mouth of the river is where it meets the sea. So there are lots of other forms of precipitation. There could be sleet, there could be snow, but all of those are basically the water vapor turning into water and coming back down to the ground. Then this starts all over again. So once it's run back to the sea, the sun heats up the sea and the water evaporates. It turns into clouds and condenses as it gets colder. It moves over the land and starts to rain and becomes precipitation, and then it's all collected back up and accumulates and comes back round. Okay, so remember, the steps of the water cycle are that the sun warms the seawater evaporates and turns into water vapor, the water vapor rises into the air, it condenses into water droplets and forms clouds, the clouds rise and then the water falls as rain, the rain flows into streams, and then the streams flow into rivers, and the rivers flow into the sea, and then it goes back to the beginning where the sun warms the sea. So that's why it's called a cycle, because it all goes around in one big circle. In your books today, you need to complete this section, so complete this picture, putting in the words evaporation, accumulation, condensation and precipitation. And if you look back at the video, that might help you. then you need to order the sentences in your book to say the order of the water cycle.